Good morning, everybody in Facebook land. So, it's nice to it's nice to have silence. Nice to have peace. It's nice to have autonomy. I'll tell you, when people have to take vacations from their families and from their friends to be on their own so they can have some kind of semblance of peace, that means they have to go and reconnect with the source, right? I mean, that sounds very spiritual. But when you think about it, when you're on your own, you do reconnect with yourself if you're not under the influence or being distracted by so many things. And so I really appreciate the times that I am on my own. And then when my husband is home and we hang out together, I really appreciate the time I have with him. And so that way I can connect with my source of longevity and my source of thinking and taking care of myself, and then I can still connect with somebody else. And I don't feel like I need to convert them because I've already converted myself, and then they are now free to do whatever they want when you think about it. Because when you think about it, a lot of our days is about converting other people. Hold on. We shall see. No judgment call. Hold on a second. So, yeah, I mean, so I appreciate the autonomy. And yesterday I definitely had to recoup from the energy frequency conversion of the weekend. Because when you're dealing with having to eat so much to keep up with the energy, keep up with the weather, keep up with the frequencies, then you're eating more than usual. And then let's say your body has to hold on to those resources to do the energy conversion, to do the money changing, right? And I got that term money changing from Queen of the South. So when you're holding on to poop, and I'm going to say this, your poop is like your currency. So when you're holding on to poop, you don't poop as much after a huge deposit, so to speak, like I'm eating a bunch of food because of the frequencies, then your body's going through an energy conversion. So yesterday my body was going through an energy conversion and I felt bloated, I felt like heavy, I felt like, oh my God. And that was fine. I didn't want to do anything I didn't want to take any J juice to push it through. You know, I did my usual. If I wasn't going to force it, I was going to leave it just the way it is. You know, sometimes you don't want to force anything or try to make things go. You just sit with feeling bloated. You sit with feeling uncomfortable. And so I did. And then, of course, towards the end of the day, I started releasing energy. And then this morning, released a bunch of energy. And it was great. And it's not like it was painful when you think about it. And so I was able to spend the money. I was able to release those demons. So those demons, whatever they weren't going to plague me. It wasn't going to be something I was hoarding. And then I'm able to, and I feel fine. I can take in smaller deposits without overtaxing my body. Okay, so you're going to see a lot of financial terms when I talk about this stuff because it is financial. It totally is financial. And let me see. And it makes sense when you think about it because everything about energy conversion, whether it's your proteins, whether it's your friends and your family and your occupation and children and all the things that the social capital, the capital, I mean, that's all about energy conversion. It's all about managing energy, managing currency, managing like human resources is basically human currency. How do you manage those resources? How are you utilizing those resources to take you further and further and further ahead of your competition? And that's kind of right now our world is about competing. But as you see, the World Economic Forum wants us to compete on a level playing field in the future. Right now, we're all competing for the same resources, but now the frequencies in the environment are going to then add a little bit more energy. So they're giving you a gift, but how you use that gift is going to be the difference of whether or not you're going to be able to survive this game that's being played. Okay? So, excuse me. All right, let me just bring this back to what I posted. And so, yeah, I've been blowing my nose and all that stuff because my body's releasing. and it's not hoarding the newfound capital of that energy conversion last night. What do you mean by energy conversion last night? Again, whenever you have to take in more deposits, more food, because you have to keep up with the environment, your body has to then change the money, change the currency. Decline. And, okay, why are people freaking calling me? All right. I am going to, oh my God. Who is this person? Oh. All right, I'm going to delete them. And block. You're not going to call me during my freaking, are you serious? Yeah, anyone that tries to call me through Facebook chat, I'm blocking, because you have no business calling me. I don't care if it's a butt dial. You shouldn't have me up there to butt dial me. So, see you later, dude. I'm not going to say his name because it's irrelevant. But yeah. That's some pretty crazy shit. Wow. Okay, sorry about that. But yeah, last night I was doing some energy conversion last night. I took in a bunch of deposits, which is a bunch of food to keep up with the energy, and then I changed the energy and then I released the excess. It went through its conversion. And so the real wealth now and in the future is knowing how to convert energy to lengthen your telomeres. Okay? So the real wealth is not an abundant life when you think about it. When you're collecting gold in your house, when you have a huge bank account, when you have a slew of friends and family and everyone around you, and you're like so rich with all this energy and resources and connections and potentially social capital and capital, of course, then you think that, oh gosh, this is so great. This is the optimal way to be. And people collect friends, they collect money, they collect objects, they collect so many things, and they think that's being rich. But in actuality, it is now taking more from you to manage all that. Manage your friends, manage your family, manage all of those assets, and manage your children, manage your family. And so then you're seeing it's taking a toll on people. It actually takes more from what they are actually able to produce or to retain. And so then you see people's life get sucked out from beneath them. And so because you see what happens when you convert energy so quickly and you gain so much abundance, it becomes an attraction to those who are parasitic. It turns into a religion. This is where all the religions, politics, religion, and scientific dogmas, when you're worshiping something because you think that it's giving you the abundance and it's giving you the meaning and giving you all this stuff, it turns into then a religion. And so it turns into something deadly and torturous, just like watching Queen of the South when they're dealing with drugs and dealing with different areas of they've cordoned off to each other. And I'll tell you, watching Queen of the South, you see how deadly collecting money and having access to so much money, so much abundance, so much wealth turns people into like a golem, or like a Smeagol then to a golem. Okay? And so it turns something deadly and torturous, turns into addictions. See, when you feel good, now you want to keep that train going. You want to feel good every single day, and then it turns into an addiction. Okay? It turns into something to worship and hoard. And so watch Queen of the South on Netflix. You see what so much wealth does. Okay? When everyone's trying to compete for the same thing, okay, whether it's competing for food, competing for money, competing for clients, competing for friends and families, attention and parties and all that stuff, you see what it turns into, one-upping each other. And then people start, then they deplete from that kind of competition. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't compete, because you have to stay alive. It doesn't mean that you feed off of somebody else on such a level that you destroy them. But what are you doing with the environment? See, that's the thing, with the J world, it's learning how to convert your energy. Convert the food supply with your energy to keep you going so you can keep producing, but not producing as a slave to somebody else, where you're producing more than you're able to retain, that you're able to give as much as you're able to take, and someone isn't exploiting you, you're not exploiting somebody else, you're not exploiting the resources in your environment, you're not exploiting animals. that's really where I think the system is gearing towards, because we're seeing that people are sitting on fat houses and fat cash and so many resources, and it's just sitting there and it's using up so much energy, or it's just sitting there being wasted because someone is hoarding it. Just like you see in some of these hoarding shows where someone is just hoarding all these vacuum cleaners and all these sponges and doors and cars, and it's just destroying the environment, and it's turning into an attraction to pestilence, and then it becomes like this dead zone. Because you really, I mean, a person who isn't ready to deal with that kind of energy conversion, because that's a lot of life in one area, and then also a bunch of other aggressive elements, that it may take someone down a few notches for them to convert the energy and adapt to that kind of aggressive environment, which is when someone hoards so many different diverse things in their house, in their lot. And so, and then it also, it could poison, the animals and all that stuff in that area, and then it upsets the balance. And so really now it is, when I understand now sustainability. I'm telling you, I wasn't really a fan of this because I got caught into the conspiracy world 10 years ago. And since I didn't really understand my body, my mind, my spirit, I didn't understand really what was going on. I mean, you only are taught like one little tiny piece of the pie, and that's something you're supposed to know, and you're given all these politics and all these religions and scientific dogmas, but you don't really know why you're adopting them. You don't really know why. I mean, you think you know why because, you studied with someone who told you why, but did you really come by that honestly on your own, or is it someone told you that that's how you should think, that's how you should feel, that's how what you should do? And so it took me to say release everything after I've gone into in the mainstream conspiracy world, and then I got into the J world, and I released everything and everybody for a certain amount of time, so I can gain some perspective and realize what the hell is going on, what are they doing, what am I doing, and then figure out how to balance out both sides. And so now we see what wealth does to people. But we needed to do that because we needed to produce resources to do the innovation, to build the infrastructure of a society that we want, an advanced society. So you bring in a bunch of temporary people, but think about it, because that's right now what humans are. They are basically temporary. That's the mainstream thought process, is that you are a temporary person. You're brought in to do a job, and then once you have fulfilled your job and you are depleting, now it's time for you to go, but we'll do it as humanely as possible. And that's the disposable part of our society, where people are aging out, or they're being cancered out and diseased out, or being frequencied out. That's exactly what's going on. And those who are temporary know it, and they're resisting what's going on. And I'm telling you, you can't resist what's going on. You now have to learn how to adapt to what's going on and still maintain and still continue your genetic line. Not saying dropping 100 kids all over the place, but you are still lengthening your telomeres. And it's about, how do you manage the energy in your environment and in your body and convert it so that way you can keep lengthening your telomeres and still keep living without hurting somebody else, without destroying somebody else, without parasiting off somebody else. That's really what it comes down to. And I get it, because I had to see humans for what they were, and me too. Okay, let me tell you, I'm not interested in all this. I've had my share of parasiticism and my share of glomming on to someone or person, place, or thing, or get those, big saucer eyes of like, oh God, money. And that was the attraction at first in the J world, because we were like, oh God, Jillian found the latest and greatest thing, and it really wasn't what people thought it was. But it's even more so. Actually, the J world is even more than what people have even anticipated. It's so much more. Once we got out of that whole thing of shortcuts and cures, the J world actually is so much more. It is an evolution. It is an awakening. It is like what people want to feel like when they're like trying to open up their pineal gland and be directly connected to source. Yeah, everyone has their version of what being open up their pineal gland is. Some could be, acid trips or ayahuasca or other stuff. But no, in the J world, opening up your pineal gland is releasing the demons and feeling all of those hormonal shifts and releasing. And on the way, you see your memories, the bad memories release, and you feel them, and you see the colors and all that stuff. And then you have a new perspective that isn't going to torture you on life. Okay. And so So watch Queen of the South on Netflix. You see what so much wealth does. When those around you are trying to compete for the same thing, it becomes deadly. People hurt each other for money. Abundance. When you can't convert your energy properly, you're always taking somebody else's, or you're falling for somebody else's promising you a quick energy conversion without you doing too much work. Okay, that's called Wall Street, pump and dump. And so when you can't convert your own energy properly, then you're looking for the shortcuts. Not only mean getting an operation and an implant or something else like a cure, but then it's like, oh yeah, if you go and invest in this, I'll give you a 50 times return on that. And that's what Queen of the South was telling you was how lucrative and how deadly when someone feels like they're going to get access to that kind of money and drugs. Because yeah, people will sell drugs so they can get a certain high to have an edge on somebody else. And then the people who are selling you drugs realize you'll get addicted to that high, that edge. And then what happens when you see someone that is an addict, see them on the street, and they're looking like they have been cannibalized on the inside from something. Yeah, those drugs is so much high energy, it cannibalizes the person. It takes from their collagen, it takes their resource, it bankrupts them. That's why when you see people who get off the drugs, especially the methamphetamines and all those really speed them up drugs, and even probably cannabis too, that they get their collagen back, they get things back. But you can see people that have a lot of abundance to them, so they can handle that energy conversion and still maintain. But you see people who are doing the same thing, but they're slight and they're definitely, less in weight and less in all of that, and other people. So they're trying to keep up with someone who has abundance in their body, and then they're being sucked dry. That person who has so much abundance is actually siphoning the resources out of that person who is smaller. And so that's what you have to realize, is that with any kind of drugs that are out there, they're crazy, highly energetic, or trying to bring up hormones so you don't feel stuff, it sucks the life out of you. And so that's also, so you may have a great return, a great feeling for a minute, but as soon as you get to that addiction stage where you're trying to keep back the memories, and you're trying to keep up with somebody else, you're trying to take away the pain because the body's trying to come back and you're not letting it, that's where the addiction, that's where the drug dealers figure out how to get market share, is they get people addicted. And that's also with the pharmaceuticals, addiction. You can have legalized drugs and you can have illicit drugs. It's all the same thing. It's all addiction. You can have herbs and tinctures. Some just want to feel pain. They think, oh, this is the latest and greatest. And so they're selling you a freaking concoction. It's all addiction. And you have to be the one to figure out, how are you going to wean off the addictions if that's even something that you want to do? Maybe it's not, because the pain that you're holding back is just so great that if you actually did try to wean off, it would be a bit of a climb out of that hole. And so sometimes it's not lucrative for people to get off the addiction. Okay? So anyways, so people hurt each other for money and abundance. When you can't convert your energy properly, you're always taking somebody else's. And so when you are so desperate for money and you're so desperate to keep getting money and you can't convert it and know how to manage it, then you think you're getting fucked. You think that somebody is always taking something from you. You think somebody's always, fucking you on something. And really it's the lack of money management, the lack of strategy with your job, strategy with the environment. And so when people are really deficient, they think everyone out there is fucking them. Now, why I'm not to say paranoid, but why I'm very careful with who I intermingle with as far as energy is because I know how much suffering there is out there in the world. I know how much suffering there is. People are trying to escape their problems. They have their issues. It can be very easy and very lucrative to get caught up in somebody's downward spiral because it's great to play with your hormones on the way down. Let me tell you, people are. Okay? And so it's hard not to get pulled in that direction because it's fun. Let me tell you, when I was feeling that drunk the other day, and I wasn't drunk, but it was the frequencies. I'm like, it was like I was telling my husband, well, we can go to a bar right now and I can have a drink, one drink, and I'd be drunk, I'd be off the rocker. And he's like, really? And I'm like, well, yeah. And I'm just like, but I didn't want to. But I could see how that could be so attractive because how easy it is to especially if you're purified, how easy it is to play with the hormones and have fun with them and get into that addiction. Because it's easy now to get addicted when you think about it, how easy it is to get drunk and feel like under the influence because the frequencies are so insane. And so you can have one drink and OD or something if you're that sensitive and that over the top. Okay. And so when you can't convert energy properly, you're always taking somebody else's, or you're falling for somebody else's promising you a quick energy conversion without you doing too much work. That's called Wall Street pump and dump. That's called the stock market, where they're promising you a dream, selling you a dream. Yeah, you might make some money, but what are you doing with that money? And that money can be like a King Midas, where it actually becomes a curse. And it becomes an attraction. It becomes something that people are attracted to. And you don't know who's been trying to take your money, who's trying to do this and who's trying to do that. And so I remember a couple of years ago, I saw my husband, we were making like 5,000 a week, 2,500 a week, a little bit more than that when he was team driving over there in Florida. I mean, we were dropping money left and right. We were spending so much money. It was insane. And I'm like, I really don't want to be this kind of rich, because this is a lot to manage, a lot to watch, right? A lot to protect yourself from. People find out you're making so much money. Then they're your friends. And then they're like, oh, can we borrow some money? Can we have some money? And then they think that because you have something, that you owe it to them because you have all this money. And then it becomes such a, oh my God, I don't want to have that kind of responsibility of having that much money. I mean, if I ever become rich one day, which I don't ever anticipate, then you have to be an island unto yourself. Okay, because you don't know what kind of parasites and vultures that are out there waiting for you to drop something for them to then glom onto. It's crazy what money does to people. It is so fucking crazy. And so I don't want that kind of responsibility. So those that have a lot of money, I give you props. But then, what people do is that they feel powerful for a short amount of time, because that money does suck the life out of them. Because then you get the trappings of wealth. Okay, and then you have to get used to making that money, because then it becomes an image, and then you have a whole lifestyle. Then you have your children who have expectations, and you have to pay for all these colleges and all these different things, because you have an image to maintain. So then people get trapped in that kind of rabbit, or what do you call it, hamster wheel, and then they burn themselves out. They literally burn themselves out because they're trying to keep up with the Joneses. And so I think in the future, I think your worth will be based upon your telomeres, okay? Because when you can produce, when you can take food, something as simple as meat, milk, cheese, eggs, fruits, and vegetables, no matter the amount of money, I'm always broke. No matter the amount of money I have, I'm always broke, John says. All right. If you can take food and you can take your environment and convert that to add more life to your body so you can keep producing to stay alive, that's abundance. That's fucking abundance. It's when you are getting rich so quick. When people ask, right. When you're getting rich so quick, and then your eyes are like saucers, and you become addicted to make. That's the thing with men who have the ability, like my husband has the ability to make money right now. Obviously, given the way shit is, it will be for a certain amount of time because the environment is so aggressive. But he's going to do everything he can to make sure that his company and him and myself stay alive for however long. And then we'll see what happens when things change. But I used to be so jealous of the men when I was younger, because they didn't have the PMS. They didn't have those kind of major health issues that women have, because we're always evolving every month and always dropping an egg or, ovulating or something. And so if I didn't have my period back then, if I was a man, 10, 15, 20 years ago, I would be like a Wall Street dude. I used to watch Boiler Room and Glengarry, Glen Ross, and watch all those movies of men just, finding ways to suck the life out of people who don't know any better. And part of me was very attracted to that. Okay. It was so lucrative to be so attracted to money and power and playing the short game versus the long game. And it was just, and I just always cursed my ovaries for so many years, because someone like my husband, who's able to convert energy like that, get through sickness like that, I felt so jealous, so fucking jealous. And it wasn't penis envy, okay? It wasn't. It was the fact that they didn't have anything to stop them to get in the way of their stride. And I believe me, I wish I could be that consistent, but with what I have as far as ovaries and my willingness to not be cured and not be under the influence or take out body parts so I don't feel stuff, I was relegated to then taking a different road, okay, of which I had to deal with the suffering along with that. Okay, and so those that had different blood types back then. When it was a slower frequency environment, a higher, like more energetic, high frequency blood type, like a type A and type B, that was a major gift because they were able to convert energy that quickly. And of course they eat food and whatever, but they didn't get sick. So they were being cured, and they're growing up being cured and being managed, nipped and tucked and getting food and all that stuff. But eventually, that does do you in. But that's the thing, is that they said that when you become 30, like your brain goes really fast in the mainstream world until you're 30, and then it slows down after your 30s. But in the J world, once you release the demons, your brain actually moves faster after 30. If you're after 30, your brain actually moves faster when you realize how to manage your energy. Because you see, my brain moves fast. It moves so fast that I could barely keep up with myself and my mouth. And obviously writing's like can be torture, because how fast can you freaking type and think and type and think? But eventually with AI, if you put something like in your ear, I don't say an implant, where you can convert your thoughts into actually writing, that would be, oh my God. That's when things are going to be ramped up that quickly. When you can take your thoughts and convert it into words without you having to then go through the energy conversion of typing and thinking of the words. It's just there. Your thoughts are right there. Like, oh my God. Okay. So, but that's, I don't know if I want to be that hooked up like that, but I could see where that would be in the future. Okay. And so when you're using biometrics, like your fingerprint or your retina eye scan, or even your DNA, I'm not trying to give my blood to anyone to then say, okay, you can do this and that. But I mean, obviously we know that could be in the future, where vaccines like that could be in the future. I don't know if what is it, Gattaca, where they were giving their blood to make sure that they were the proper person to go into that building. I don't know if I ever want to be sticking things in me or having needles get stuck in me like that. But again, if vaccines are required in the future, way in the future, I don't have a problem doing that. I can convert the energy and release the demons. But as far as implants, right? People are like afraid, like the mark of the beast and all that. I'll tell you, even with a rice grain sized implant, my body can take in the information, it does whatever it does, and then it can release it. How do you know it's not staying in you? Well, if it stays in me, whatever. I have amalgam fillings and composite fillings in my mouth. Okay? I mean, it's an energy conductor, but nothing that I can't handle. Obviously, any kind of implant, like something that's stuck in like in your hand, well, when your immune system is so strong, it's going to want to push it out. So you're not going to, people who have a very strong immune system like I do. Okay? An implant's not going to fucking work. And if you have conditioned your children and they're so weak and they're breaking bones, or they have issues with their organs, and you're taking them to the hospital to get implants or transplants, you've already now relegated them to be an artificial intelligence. Now, unless they're willing to go through the pain of taking out that stuff surgically through the medical system, and they have to justify why they're taking out their implants, or why they're not taking their antibiotics because they feel the pain of the area where the body is trying to regrow or push out that implant or transplant. So when we have our kids already programmed for the system, and it's up to the parents. See, when someone said that the kids don't have a choice, no, they don't have a choice. So if parents have already committed their kids to the system and have gotten them all these different implants and transplants and operations, yeah, you've now programmed your kid to the system, and it's going to be hard to deprogram them from that. You now, as a parent, need to save yourself and find ways to make sure that your kids understand what it means to keep evolving. But if you're not going to teach that to your kids, if you haven't even saved yourself, then of course your kids are never going to have a chance, because they'll be so dependent on all the herbs and extracts and tinctures and all that stuff, and then potentially implants, and then even being chipped down the road when they're that much at a deficit. Because you already see people now who are adults that have like those things that measure their blood sugar. And then people have pacemakers. They have all these different pace things in their body, measuring and doing stuff, liver stuff, kidney stuff. I mean, there's a lady that has a catheter implant that actually helps her pee because her body stopped releasing pee. It just kept filling up with pee. Her kidneys stopped producing pee and releasing. Holy shit. That's what we're producing in the future, because we have parents that haven't really figured out themselves, and then they have kids on top of that. They have issues, and so now we have generations of children who are deficient, and they're reliant on implants and reliant on artificial intelligence to keep their organs going. That's pretty fucking sad. But you can't, once you have a kid, you don't really know what's in their future, so you just hope for the best. But now you as a parent have to be the one to evolve. And if your kid has that capacity physically, great, but they may not. There's no guarantee nowadays when you have someone who's 30 years old and their freaking kidneys shut down. Now they have to have an electronic catheter to pump out the urine. Could you anticipate that at when they were 15 or 12? When at 30 their kidneys shut down? And they're beautiful too. And they're gorgeous. Like these girls and boys who have these issues with their body parts, they're fucking gorgeous. So even beauty isn't always going to be the telling, like, oh yeah, they're great. Because you saw what happened to Mel Gibson. Not Mel Gibson, what's his name? Bruce Willis. Gorgeous guy way back when. Now he has some kind of dementia where he can't even talk. He doesn't have your grandfather's dementia, they said. Right? This is a totally different dementia but he had the gift of beauty and he had the gift of chiseledness. He had the gift of Hollywood and doing all those movies, and now he's paying the piper. You can say, oh God, that's so horrible, Jillian, but that's essentially kind of what's going on. When you're given so much beauty and symmetry and all the wealth in the world and access to resources and all that stuff, eventually you're going to have to pay that back, and it's usually with your life and then with the deterioration. And it sucks. That's why I don't want to look beautiful. I don't want to be rich. I don't want to look beautiful. I want to be able to be just in time, just enough. What is just in time? In the trucking industry, the just in time is how companies save money from having to store extra product. Because Walmart doesn't have extra storage space. They have to figure out and forecast how much they're selling, what they're selling, how much they can store for a certain amount of time to then put on the shelf to then get bought up. Okay. And so my husband was a just in time. He used to deliver for Walmart as an account for Swift, Walmart, Home Depot, Dollar General. And so those were all just in time loads, because that way they didn't have to pay so much money to store all that product. Everything was being bussed in right up when it needs it. Like every Wednesday, bussed in, trucked in. Okay. So just in time is really, it makes sense because you pay less in transportation than you do in storage. And so, hoarding so much cash and hoarding so much fat and so much proteins and hoarding so much collectibles, it taxes you. It taxes your resources. It makes you have to spend money to protect that. Spend money to protect it, to make sure that there's no fraud, waste, and abuse. There's no one stealing your shit. That's why I don't want to have anything expensive in my house, because if you live in an area where it is poor or people are wanting stuff or they're at such deficit, that's when houses get robbed, because they're flashing money, they're flashing all of their wealth. And then that's where people come out of the woodwork, be like, oh, I'll be your friend today. Oh, let's hang out today. Oh, by the way, can I have this? Can I have that? And it's like, oh no, I want to live so simply where I don't attract parasites or robbers or burglars. When you have to have the Ring doorbell, when you have to have all these protective measures, oh, that's a sucky way to live. That's because people are hoarding so much and people don't have what you have, and they want what you have. And then how do you know if someone's rich or not? Well, you don't when you're looking at your telomeres. When your bank account is directly correlated to your telomeres, you're not going to be hanging on to so much cash. You'll have just what you need at the time. And you keep producing. And so if the government gives you only so much and you're supposed to utilize only so much, and you have just enough and you're in a relatively, safe environment, and people aren't trying to hoard so much wealth or get over on someone over here or get over someone on over there so they can double and triple their stuff. That's called gambling too. Then what's the attraction of someone trying to rob you? What's the attraction of someone trying to rape you if you have less than those desires too, and you lessen those hormones in someone's body, and they're not so hot to trot all the time, wanting to go and take somebody else's energy for that release? I'm telling you, when you finally get your hormones under control, you're not going to be hoarding hormones and hoarding items and worshiping wealth and being like a King Midas. It'll be a whole fucking different world. And that's the world that I want to live in. That's the world where I can walk down the street and know no one's going to fuck with me. I want to have a world where I don't have to put protective measures on my emails or on my Facebook. I don't want to have to block and delete anyone because of boundary issues or, whatever issues. But right now we're in that world where you have to put down so many fucking protective measures and you have to be paranoid. And so, oh yeah, the J world attracted so many different types of parasites. Oh, hell it did. Oh, fuck yeah, it did. I saw it for what I saw it firsthand. So I'm not speaking out of my ass. I'm not speaking theoretically. Oh, I experienced how people were attracted to what they thought the J world was going to be monetarily, financially. Boy, were they wrong. And I even said, this is not a money-making thing. You can't make money off of people facing their fucking demons because all the money out there in the world is about running away from your demons, curing your demons, freezing your demons, developing more fucking demons. But there is no money in facing your fucking demons. And then people realize that, oh yeah, I guess that's not the case. It's not a money-making. And they're all off to the wayside doing their own thing, which I already knew. That's why I cut some people off. And it seemed like it was cold. It seemed like, oh, Jillian's just using and abusing. No, I just realized what the fuck was going on. And that's when I let everybody go. Say, oh, you guys just do your thing. Good luck to you. More power to you. I hope you survive climate change. We both gave so much to each other and took from each other. Now you will figure it out. Now you have all the resources at your disposal. You make the choice. And so that's why I am now an island unto myself with certain people that I did acknowledge in my book. And then we will watch all of, people will watch Audrey, people watch John Oakes, and whether or not it's successful or whatever that is, it doesn't matter. We're watching people, John Oakes and Audrey, people to watch, and Pip as well. And we will watch each other's journey. And there's other people out there that are doing their thing and we're watching each other. Those that have commented and said that they're understanding this. Okay, we'll see how well you understand this. We'll see how people end up, even myself. All right? But I did want to acknowledge those that did help me through this last venture of evolution. And so, because it wouldn't be what it is today if it wasn't for John and Pip and Audrey and other people who have contributed their energy. And so I said, yeah, you'll make money based upon your capacity at the time and your understanding of the longevity. Just like in the just-in-time trucking world. I said that. And so when you're not holding on to so much baggage thinking it's worth something, right? You won't be desirable to nefarious activity. Remember, worth is all based upon someone's perception. You have a bunch of dishes and you think that they're worth something. Well, it's not determined. And I don't look at things I have in my house as, oh, is this worth this? Who cares what it's worth? Am I using it? Is it helping me out to keep me alive? Okay. If it's just sitting there and I'm speculating on the worth of it, then it's just speculation. It's like that whole greed thing. Oh, I want this because it could be worth more. But in reality, it's just fucking weighing you down. But hey, that's some people's way of doing stuff is they collect things they think it's worth and speculate on it, and then they go and gamble on it. And you could be spending more time trying to figure out how much it's worth and what it really actually is worth and what you can actually sell it for. And it's just such a fucking game. That's why I don't like shopping. I don't shop. I get what I need. I buy what I need. If the system knows that it's like law of supply and demand. When you have whipped cream that is like $9 a gallon, okay, for the whipped cream that's like in like a liquid version, well, it's worth it to me to buy it because that's a lot of life in there. That's a lot of life and it goes a long way. It's worth it to me, and then I won't buy other things. And so yeah, I'll put my money in the whipped cream, in the Bustelo coffee, in the sugar, and in the Angus, patties, meat like I had yesterday with the macaroni and cheese. And so then you simplify your life when you realize that you're putting your money in the areas that are worth, and that is simple, and yet you could still afford a McDonald's, some complex food like a McDonald's and ice cream, like I was eating the other day. And you don't have to spend like thousands and thousands of dollars on pretty food. This food is taking you a longer way. You're actually maximizing, the resources out of that food. And so it's all about energy management, money management. And I'll tell you, most people don't understand what that means really when you think about it. And so when you're not holding on to so much baggage, thinking it's worth something, you won't be desirable to nefarious activity. So again, when you're holding on to all these collectibles in your house and you think it's worth something, which it could be, someone will be like, oh, wow. And then you're going to have to put all these measures down to protect it. And that's a shitty way to live when you have to protect your shit from somebody else. Or protect yourself from somebody else. It's a shitty way to live. It sucks, but it's necessary in this world. Because people are trying to take your energy, trying to take your resources, trying to take so much. And they come off, can be nice to your face. That's what I'm saying. You have to be very careful when you have stuff. It's when you don't have anything and people are like, and when you have a thought process that is worth considering, then you realize you realize what it is it means to have friends and family and things in this world. Because if you have nothing except for a thought process, people don't like thinking. They want your material items. They don't want your thought process. Believe me, I already see that already. People don't like your thought process. They want the material things. If you don't have something to offer them like a gift or social capital or this kind of, not everybody, but a lot of people who are more of the materialistic, who are collecting things, if you have a thought process, it's not worth shit to them. It's what you have is what is worth to them. And that's when you see that's how humanity operates. And it's pretty sad but that's the way it is right now. Okay? All right. And so biometrics, you are the cash, the currency, the goods and services, and the worth. That's behind the sovereignty of you and the world that you live in. So people say, oh, I want to be sovereign. You are fucking sovereign. You just have enslaved yourself. As soon as you were born, you were sovereign. But your parents enslaved you. You enslaved yourself. Eventually, you disengage from the slavery and you become more autonomous and you learn how to work with the system, not work for the system. When you think about it, that's when you gain your sovereignty, because you always will be in a community, just like your organs. Your heart is sovereign because it has its own job, but it's still dependent upon all the other organs and everything. So it's not like you're ever going to be an island 100% unto yourself, but you can be so autonomous where you don't have to have intermediaries coming in and cutting you up, which is what heart surgery is when you're not sovereign. See, those that are in the medical holistic system and the energy healing world and all that stuff, they're not sovereign, but they want sovereignty, but they're not sovereign because they don't know how to manage their own energy. Someone's always coming in and commandeering and managing their energy for them. And so you're the one that determines your sovereignty. So you either work with the system as a partnership or you're working for the system and then you're bitching about it. And so you'll figure that out or you won't. It's not up to me, right? And so biometrics, you are the cash, the currency, the goods and services, and the worth that's behind the sovereignty of you and the world that you live in. I don't see anything wrong with using your fingerprint. I don't see anything wrong with using your fingerprint, using your eye retina scan. I don't see anything wrong with that. Because if you're able to convert energy properly in the food supply, you can still maintain your retina, you can still maintain your fingerprints, you still maintain whatever it is that you're converting your body into goods and services to help your community. And so you should be able to have that food. And maybe your biometrics should be able to convert that and say, okay, yeah, this is a viable person that is contributing to this economy. But someone says, oh yeah, if you're, the system can control you and shut you down or give you a low social score. Well, you have to understand the games that are being played. If you're not understanding the games that are being played, then yeah, it'll be like a China where they lower your social score. Because you could still take care of what needs to be taken care of with the government and do what you have to do relative to what they're trying to do, and they're not going to tell you everything. And so if you're eating and you're getting air and you get food and you get water and and you get space and you get protection on some level, right? You can call the police if something goes wrong. What's the issue here? Are they going to come in? And even if they come in your house, say, hey, everybody has to get V'd. Okay, Believe me, if they want to destroy you, they're not going to take the long way around and go through all this. If they want to just take your money, they'll just take your money. If they want to destroy you, let me tell you, if someone really wants to do something, they could do something. As far as the government, okay, it's going to be harder for a person to try to do that to somebody else because you have to let down a lot of your guard to have somebody come in and actually do something to you. But when it comes to the government, if they want what you have, believe me, they can spin any kind of fucking story they want and just take your resources. But if you don't have anything, really, like when you think about it, I don't have anything. The government doesn't want my shit. I just have a thought process. That's it. I don't really have anything the government really wants. So they're not going to go and take my resources. They're not going to go and be like, oh, yeah, and I don't have a job that requires me to get a V. If I had to get a job that requires me to get a V, I'd do it, and I'd deal with the energy conversion and release the demons and take on the programming, and my body will go through the energy conversion, and I'll be fine. Okay, so this fear of using biometrics that attached to your bank account, well, their thing is, if they want to destroy you, they wouldn't take the long way around. You would be dead. You'd be gone. But that's the fears that people have because of the trauma that's inside their body. That's all the politics, the religion, the science dogmas. That's all the conspiracy world, which has relevance, but people take it too far. Okay? And so I don't see anything wrong with biometrics. If you are currency, your being alive is what's being traded. You're not holding any implants as far as you know. I mean, nanotechnology is nanotechnology. It goes in and out. Okay, whatever. And if you have implants, that's your choice. But I have a unique identifying footprint called DNA and fingerprints. If that takes the place of currency and I find ways to keep myself alive, that is negotiable. Because again, I will always fluctuate with the environment. Resources are being used up, and then I have to keep making deposits into my body, and I also deposit back to the universe. So I take food as a deposit in, convert the energy, and then I release, and then I give a deposit back to the universe. Here's my offering. Here's my fucking shit. It's in the toilet. That's my offering to my goddamn government, right? And so that's money conversion. And it's all relative to your perspective, what deposit is and what is release and what you're offering. And so you can make an offering to your government by pooping correctly. Okay, but if you're holding on to poop and holding on to money, holding on to this, then you're taking resource and taking, and you're going to supernova. And so, I am negotiable. What is negotiable, right? I am open to discussion or modification. I am subject to discussion. I am flexible. I'm open to modification. I'm discussable. I am unsettled, undecided. Okay? Debatable. I'm transferable. I'm used as a legal tender. I am valid. Valid. See, that's from Gattaca. Valid, invalid, right? I am passable, navigable, crossable, traversable. I'm open. I'm clear. I'm free from obstruction. Yeah, when you're releasing that big old poop demon that's in your body from constipation being cured, and you're open, and now you're opening up the channels of communication, the channels of energy conversion. You can convert energy expeditiously. You can convert energy properly. You can convert energy effectively. And you're not having to hoard shit, literally. Okay, and then producing children because your body is depleting. And so you are negotiable. You are publicly traded on the open market based upon your skills, goods, and services. You are still sovereign if you know how to get away from being a slave to the system and you're working with the system. Okay? Those that, again, are slaves to the system are always going to be afraid that someone's going to exploit them and fuck them and do this and do that. And yeah. When you haven't figured out how to manage your own energy, everybody is the enemy. And so I'm sovereign. I am mostly self-reliant. I already released my demons. Nobody can put any implants in me. And if they do try, they'll shit it right out. Okay? All microbes that go through me get released are nanoparticles. Again, I can release the demons. And so, at this point right now, people are having children. That's great. You're having children really for the system, not really so much for you. because you will be an influence, the system will be an influence, the kids are going to take both sides and figure out how to merge them together and figure out how to survive at their choice. Because really, when you think about it, parents try to mold their kids in their image, and you see what happens when you try to force your image onto your kids who are now in a different world, and they're going to have to figure out how to work with both sides. And you got to give them that opportunity, that allowance to explore whatever is being thrown at them, to explore what's being shown to them through public school, private school, politics, religion, and science. And at some point, they'll make their decisions. Some will self-destruct, and you can't stop that. Some will be like, okay, I'm going to see what it's like to work with both sides and be a partner to the system versus a slave to the system. Because when you're a slave to the system, then it's all the pleasures. It's all the stuff, the addictions, the self-destruct. Okay? And so it's up to the parent to teach the kid how to manage both sides of the world. And even then, a parent could try to teach, and if the kid is not receptive, no matter what, you did your best, only you know what you have given your child as far as access to this information, and it's up to the kid no matter what. But again, you as a parent must be the representation. And eventually it will be the child's choice. But the child as a child, no kid ever has a fucking choice, ever. But you have to give them access to the choices over time. They're going to be programmed in a specific way because you live in a community and the government wants to have their citizens be taught in a certain way and be under the guidance of somebody in authority, which I completely understand. But you as a parent can still impart your point of view without completely saying that the government is horrible, the government's bad. Okay? And so there's many places where people can get lost in and can get tied up in. And so even homeschooling isn't always everything, because what are you homeschooling your children? What are you teaching them at home? All right? So just understand that, that you as a parent must do the representation. Your kids will have to figure it out no matter what. They'll have to figure it out. So that's all I'm going to say. I talked enough, but you are the currency. It'll be so much easier when you release the demons. You're not so worried about collecting wealth and social capital and children and all that stuff and family and friends. That's the old world. That's the old world. And we're seeing that world slowly disappear. And now it's going to be you as the one that's going to carry on the genetic line without dropping 1 million children. And if you decide to and you become that prototype, then that's something that you and the government can discuss if you're DNA. But see, the government already has all the DNA. Remember, we've been given our DNA ever since COVID. We have a hospital system that has so much freaking DNA. They've already have a database of every single genome in the world. The government will develop the future from biotech. And you now have to survive the changes. And it could be so amazing and beautiful. I already see what could it possibly be. You just got to survive the climate change, survive the natural disasters, to survive the cataclysms, to survive the pandemics, survive everything. Because eventually it will be beautiful. It's just going to take some time. And there's no guarantee any of us are going to see it. There's no guarantee. So just take it day by day and figure out your plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. Don't assume that nothing's going to happen. They already told you. 2050, there's going to be 18 inches of ocean rising in different places. So Hawaii, Florida, the coasts are going to be underwater on some level. And if you plan to be around between now and 2050, 2060, 2070, 2080, and all that stuff, if you plan to be around, start thinking like that. Future thinking. But if you are a temporary person, then you're not going to worry about the ocean sea levels rising. You'll be here maybe 20 years, maybe less. And we thank you for your service. All right, bye.